The rainforest is silent, too silent. Leaves twitch overhead, shadows stretch, and in the stillness a soft whimper breaks through. A lone man kneels beside a motionless female gorilla, her dark body curled protectively around a shape that moves. It's a baby, barely clinging to life. His breaths are shallow. His fingers grasp the air for something that's no longer there. The man, Daniel, a seasoned wildlife rehabilitator, hesitates. He knows the rules. Observe, document, do not interfere unless necessary. But this is necessary. Something ancient and instinctive stirs inside him. He wraps the baby in his jacket. The tiny gorilla's skin is hot with fever, his eyes unfocused. Daniel radios in, no response. He's deep in the Congolese jungle, days from base camp. There is no protocol for this. Only the sound of a heartbeat against his chest as he runs. Back at his field hut, Daniel clears a space on the floor, padding it with blankets. He mixes formula by flashlight. The gorilla doesn't eat at first, but Daniel doesn't give up. Every 2 hours, day and night, he offers the bottle. On the third day, the baby gulps it down, his hands gripping Daniel's thumb with surprising strength. He names him Kibi, it means brave. Weeks pass. Kibi survives and thrives. He clings to Daniel's back during treks, mimicking his every move. Daniel teaches him gestures, even signs, simple ones at first: food, come, more. They share fruit at sunrise, bathe together in the shallow stream. Kibi laughs, a rich, bubbling sound, when Daniel slips on moss-covered rocks. Daniel laughs too, the kind of laugh he hadn't known in years. Every evening, Kibi curls up in the crook of Daniel's arm. His soft breathing lulls Daniel to sleep. In the darkness of the hut, the man whispers old songs, the ones his own father used to sing. "You're safe," he tells Kibi. "You're home." But Daniel knows this can't last. 2 years in, Kibi is growing fast. His shoulders are broader, his instincts sharper. One morning, Daniel catches him climbing to the rafters, baring his teeth at his own reflection in a pot. The animal in him is waking. Still, Kibi remains gentle with Daniel. He brings him flowers, wraps vines around his wrist like bracelets. When Daniel catches a fever, it's Kibi who places cold leaves on his forehead, who presses against his side through the night. Their bond becomes legend among local villagers. A man and a gorilla, father and son. But deep in his heart, Daniel knows Kibi is not his to keep. The jungle calls. Wildness pulses in the young silverback's veins. He begins to wander, to stay out longer. He challenges monkeys, mimics bird calls. He's preparing himself. Daniel contacts conservation authorities. He asks for advice, pleads for guidance. The answer is always the same: prepare him for reintroduction. That's what's best. So Daniel begins to train Kibi for a goodbye that neither of them is ready for. And in the quiet hours before dawn, as the man strokes the fur of the only family he's ever really had, he wonders, will Kibi ever forgive him? Will he even remember? Rain falls in sheets as Daniel watches Kibi vanish into the foliage, only to return moments later with a branch of overripe figs and a wide, mischievous grin. The silverback is nearly full-grown now, towering over Daniel, his chest beginning to thicken, his behavior becoming more unpredictable. The calls from conservation authorities have grown urgent. It's time, they keep saying. He needs to be among his own kind. Daniel knows they're right. Kibi may act tame, but he's no longer a baby. He's an adolescent male with strength that could break a tree in half. Still, how do you say goodbye to someone who doesn't understand what goodbye means? Daniel begins the process slowly. He builds an open transition enclosure on the jungle's edge. For weeks he coaxes Kibi into spending time there alone, first for hours, then overnight. He places fruit near wild gorilla trails, hoping Kibi will grow curious. But every night the silverback returns. Sometimes he brings gifts, smooth stones, strange feathers, vines twisted into shapes. Always he sits at the threshold of Daniel's hut, waiting. One night, Daniel steps outside to find Kibi curled up with the wooden pendant he carved years ago, still clutched tightly in his massive hand. The sight crushes him. The next day, a troop of wild gorillas comes near the area. Kibi watches them from a distance. His body tenses, his nostrils flare. He inches closer, but when one young male barks at him, Kibi retreats to Daniel. Daniel doesn't sleep. He lies awake listening to jungle sounds, weighing hope against heartbreak. He knows Kibi's hesitation is temporary. Nature cannot be postponed forever. The final week comes fast. Daniel decides to accompany Kibi deep into the reserve, farther than they've ever gone. He carries only essentials, food, water, and the pendant. Kibi walks beside him, alert, curious, unaware. When they reach the release site, Daniel stops. The air is dense, the trees sway. This is the moment. He opens the crate and scatters the fruit. He doesn't speak. Words would only confuse him. Kibi hesitates. His eyes move from the jungle to Daniel and back again. He steps forward, then looks back. Daniel forces a smile, nodding softly. "Go," he whispers. "It's okay." Kibi doesn't move, so Daniel does the unthinkable. He turns his back, slowly, painfully. He walks away, each step heavier than the last. A branch snaps. Silence, then a rustle. Fading footsteps. Daniel stops, but doesn't look back. If he sees those eyes again, he won't survive it. When he returns to the hut alone, something inside him cracks open. He sits on the floor where Kibi used to sleep, cradles the abandoned pendant in his hands, and weeps. For days he listens to the jungle, hoping to hear that familiar rustle outside the hut, the soft huff of breath. But the nights pass, and Kibi doesn't return. Daniel's done his duty. He's let Kibi go. But as he stares at the empty doorway, he wonders, did Kibi let him go? The jungle feels different now, denser, older, as if the 5 years Daniel has been gone were centuries to the forest. He wipes sweat from his brow, machete slicing carefully through overgrown vines as he follows the old path to the research station. Now, just a collapsed frame overtaken by moss and roots. Nature, it seems, forgets quickly. But Daniel hasn't forgotten. Not the laughter, not the humming, not the heavy silence of that final walk when he let Kibi go. He touches the pendant still hanging around his neck, worn smooth from his fingertips. It's the only thing that hasn't changed. He's not here as a rescuer this time. He's part of a documentary team studying rewilded primates. The mission is clinical: data, observation, distance, no emotional involvement. But Daniel's heart beats differently. He isn't just here to collect notes. He's here for one reason, one hope, one impossible question. Did Kibi survive? And if he did he forget? 3 days into the expedition, something happens. A rustling in the trees, deeper than a bird, heavier than a monkey. Daniel freezes. The team is distracted, adjusting camera gear, but he knows that sound. He turns slowly. Nothing. Just jungle. But the hairs on his arms stand up. That night, he takes a walk alone. He doesn't go far, just to the clearing near the old feeding station. Moonlight filters down in thin silver beams. The jungle is alive, humming, breathing. And then he sees it, dangling from a low branch. It sways gently, carved wood catching the moonlight. The pendant, his pendant. Daniel's heart slams against his ribs. He stumbles forward, reaching out. It's his, without a doubt. The notches, the shape, a perfect match. But how? He clutches it to his chest, eyes scanning the dark trees, and then a sound, low, deep, a breath. He turns. A shadow emerges from the underbrush, massive, upright, chest rising and falling slowly. A full-grown silverback steps into the moonlight, towering, regal. His face is older, scarred, but those eyes are the same. Kibi. Daniel doesn't move, doesn't breathe. The gorilla stands still, just watching, No growl, no charge, no sign of aggression, just presence. Kibi steps forward, one slow movement at a time. His eyes never leave Daniel's. He grunts softly. A low, rumbling sound. Not a threat. Something else. Something ancient. Daniel lowers himself to the ground, hands open, non-threatening, the pendant still clutched in one palm. Kibi walks closer, his massive feet silent on the jungle floor. 10 feet, 5, 2. Then he reaches out. One enormous hand brushes Daniel's shoulder. The weight of it is staggering, but there's no force, just contact, just memory. The air is electric. Daniel can't speak. Tears streak his face. Kibi grunts again, then pulls back. He turns, steps away, stops, looks back once, eyes full of something that should be impossible. Recognition. Then, just as quietly as he appeared, he vanishes into the trees. Daniel remains kneeling long after, his heart full and breaking all at once. Kibi remembered. He survived, and he came back. "Back away slowly, do not run," one researcher whispers. Cameras drop. People freeze. But Daniel steps forward. Morning breaks with a haze that drapes over the jungle like silk. Daniel sits near the fire, eyes hollow, staring at the pendant in his hand. Not the one he wears, but the one from the branch. Kibi had returned it, or displayed it. A message, a challenge. The rest of the team doesn't understand. They keep talking about GPS tags, guerrilla troop dynamics, migration routes. But Daniel only hears one thing. He knew it was me. By noon, they set out to track the guerrillas again. 2 scouts report unusual behavior, branches broken in a pattern, possible territorial markings not seen in this area for years. The lead biologist thinks it's a new, dominant male. Daniel knows better. It's him. Hours later, the team hikes toward the western ridge. The air turns heavy, uneasy. Something's watching. They don't see Kibi at first. They hear him. A low bellow echoes through the canopy, a territorial display. Then he appears on a slope above them. He's enormous, more powerful than Daniel remembered, and flanked by 2 younger males. Kibi steps forward. The others stay back. The group panics. "No," he says. "Let me try." He moves slowly, no sudden movements. Every instinct screams danger, but his heart remembers. "It's me," he whispers. "I'm not here to take you. I just needed to see." Kibi watches, breathing steady, muscles tense. He's reading every twitch of Daniel's body. Then, movement in the bushes. A rival silverback crashes through, roaring, teeth bared. Chaos erupts. The team scatters. Kibi doesn't move. The rival charges toward Daniel. Before he can react, a blur of dark muscle slams between them. Kibi. The clash is brutal. Kibi lunges with primal fury, roaring as he smashes into the rival. Fists pound, vines rip. The jungle echoes with the sounds of raw, primal combat. Daniel stumbles back, heart in his throat. Blood flies. The rival roars in pain and retreats, crashing through the foliage. Kibi stands over the ground, chest heaving, face cut, shoulder bleeding, but victorious. He turns to Daniel, steps close. The team watches from afar, breath held. Kibi reaches down. Daniel doesn't flinch. Kibi places a broad, bloodied hand on Daniel's chest. Not a strike, a gesture, deliberate. He grunts softly, then he turns and begins walking away. But after a few steps, he pauses. He looks back, waits. Daniel hesitates, then follows. The 2 walk in silence deeper into the trees. For hours they move through the heart of the jungle, the terrain growing familiar. They pass the old feeding station, the clearing where they shared fruit, the waterfall where Daniel once taught Kibi to bathe. Finally, they reach the edge of a ridge. Below, a troop of guerrillas, females, juveniles, the next generation. Kibi stands tall, looking out over the troop, then to Daniel. His message is clear. "This is my family now." The sun begins to set. Daniel knows it's time. He steps forward and touches Kibi's arm One last time. You protected me, he says, like I once did for you. Kibi grunts softly. Then, without another look, he disappears into the trees. This time, Daniel doesn't cry. He understands. Trust isn't always holding on. Sometimes it's knowing when to let go. The footage stuns the world. Within days of returning home, Daniel's team uploads the recordings, shaky, raw, unfiltered. The moment the silverback steps between man and beast, the slow, deliberate reunion, the pendant exchange. News anchors call it the most emotional wildlife encounter ever caught on camera. Social media explodes, but Daniel doesn't watch it. He sits alone in his small mountain cabin, pendant in hand, surrounded by silence that feels both hollow and holy. Every night he dreams of the jungle, of the way Kibi looked back one last time before vanishing. He's inundated with interview requests, lecture offers, speaking tours. But he says no to all of them, except one. A children's wildlife center in the city asks him to speak to a small group of kids. He agrees. On the day of the event, Daniel walks into the room with the pendant in his hand. He tells them a story, not of gorillas or conservation or fame, but of family, of finding it, losing it, and knowing when to set it free. He holds up the carved pendant and says, "This saved a life." Not because it's magical, but because it was remembered. One child raises her hand. "Do you think he still remembers you?" Daniel smiles. "I know he does." Elsewhere, in the heart of the Congo, a young ranger spots something astonishing during a routine patrol. A guerrilla troop emerges near the edge of the reserve. Among them, a massive silverback, calm, controlled, carrying something unusual, a small carved piece of wood tied with a vine. The ranger radios it in. I think this one isn't just dominant. He's different." Back in the city, a museum exhibit quietly opens. No fanfare, just a plaque and a case. Inside, 2 identical pendants, one gifted, one returned. The plaque reads, "Love taught across species, a bond that time, distance, and instinct could not erase." Tourists pause and stare. Some wipe away tears. Some ask questions. Others simply stand in silence. The exhibit becomes a permanent fixture. Teachers bring students, parents bring children, and every so often someone leaves behind a drawing or letter addressed simply to Kibi. Daniel continues his quiet life, but he keeps the pendant close. He visits schools, supports conservation, but more than anything, he remembers. Because some stories never really end. They echo in footsteps through the trees, in the hush of reunion, in the weight of a hand on your chest that tells you, "I remember you. You mattered. You always will." If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the unseen bonds that connect us, not just to each other, but to every living being on this planet. Like this video if you believe love can cross any boundary. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in Daniel's place? Subscribe for more emotional, true animal stories that will stay with you long after the video ends. Because love never forgets.